Hello everyone, my name is Kristina Petrova and I'm a researcher at the Department of Peace and Conflict Research here at Uppsala University. In the past few years, I've looked at relationships between climate variability and extreme weather events on one hand and human security on the other. I studied the political context under which these effects take place and the role of the state as a provider of security or insecurity to study structural inequalities of power and distribution of resources. So studying the importance of local institutions also helped account for the different possible human responses to climatic change, which also include non-violent coping practices. The research also takes into account that responses to climate variability often takes place in the context of ongoing political violence. So from floods in Pakistan, cyclones in Bangladesh, or droughts in Somalia, natural hazards and violent conflicts have long occurred in the same communities at the same time. Violent conflict is also accepted as a critical driver of climate vulnerability, which also affects local capacity to cope and adapt to environmental hazards. So successful climate adaptation is impossible without peace. Therefore, I also investigate the impacts of armed conflict on human mobility and political trust, also in the context of extreme weather events. So to study these relationships, I relied on quantitative statistical analysis using individual-level survey data. Many of the explanations and mechanisms in the literature rely on assumptions about individual preferences, perceptions, and attitudes. And those have not been fully examined. Survey data also allows us to ask people about their perception of climate events, general physical and mental well-being, and migration history. So this overcomes limitations related to the use of proxy measures of migrations, and at the same time accounts for variation in different households' experiences. So qualitative case studies, on the other hand, are better able to account for local complexity, and consider location-specific factors for which no quantitative data are currently available. For example, presence of traditional institutions that are designed to cope with climate extremes. So combining quantitative survey analysis with ethnographic research and process tracing would be important as a way to develop these insights further. The research can also compensate for the limitations of the individual methods and account for the full spectrum of relevant factors. Climate change and conflict are urgent problems that required improved explanations and responses. So we know violent conflict and climate change are substantial obstacles to many countries trying to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. So better understanding of how these two phenomena interact is necessary. When it comes to distress migration and displacement, ending it requires adequate disaster risk reduction and the end of political violence. But until these insecurities remain a reality in many places, we also need to improve our understanding of the determinants of these different types of mobilities and design policies of assistance, relocation, and migrant integration in host communities. So for example, early warning systems that predict future out-migration areas can also work with households in the process of displacement and improve information regarding routes, living conditions in area of destination, and assess alternative desirable destinations. Thank you for listening, and if you want to reach out, I'll be more than happy to talk to you.